Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop's Shift Break series. My name is Chris DeFirio. Happy to have you along. Today we will be talking about accommodating special requests in the cafe. Now, there's a lot to discuss in this, and I'm hoping that we can kind of put together a framework of how to handle them and some best practices that you're going to find helpful when people do put in special requests. This is going to be a pretty useful episode, so looking forward to talking about that with you. Today's episode is brought to you by Square Payroll, the easy way to pay your team. Now, I've been in management for a while, and one of the things that's true about management is not only do you have to respond to the needs of the cafes and the staff, day in and day out, you don't know what's going to come up day to day. You still have to get the paperwork done. You've got to pay people. You've got to do the scheduling. There's all sorts of things that don't go away just because you're busy. So having great tools to help you make those things easier is critical. So that's why I'm pleased to announce the new Square Payroll app. Now, it can do anything you can do on a desktop, from setting up an account to paying your team. It's fully integrated with Square for payments, time cards, even tips. And Square can even take care of your tax withholdings, payments, and filings automatically at no extra cost. Best of all, they have flexible and transparent pricing that scales with your business. It's just $29 per month plus $5 per employee per month. So all you have to do is search Square Payroll in the Apple iTunes and Google Play app stores to download the app, or you can go to square.com/go/keys. That's square.com/go/keys, as in keys to the shop, to learn more. So definitely go out, download that app, and see how this can really help make the process of putting in payroll a lot easier for you. My thanks to Square for their support of Keys to the Shop. All right, so today I want to quickly talk to you about something that is just part of the job in hospitality, and that is accommodating the requests that come in at the register. Sometimes those requests are really outrageous, and sometimes they're just pretty mundane. Most of the time, I would say these are things that we should be accommodating because we can. And I want to give us a framework for thinking of accommodating special requests, because we create our own version of what the motive is behind those special requests. There's a way of thinking of a customer that will automatically label them as really extra, or being needy, or high maintenance, etc. At the register is where the relationship is built. We get to know the customer. We get to know the way that they like their coffee. And when it becomes a part of how we operate as a team, it doesn't become a burden anymore. But we are really scared, I think. As an industry, we sometimes are predisposed to treating a special request like it's the end of the world, and we get bent out of shape about it because it's not easy. And really what's at play here, I think, is it's snapping us out of our rhythm. It's snapping us out of that muscle memory where we aren't actually having to think that hard, and we can just make the drinks. We're keeping the espresso dialed. We're making the menu items the way we know they're supposed to be made. And when a special request comes through, it automatically makes us have to stop and pause and think, okay, what's the best way to make this? I don't know the standards for this because it's not in the manual. And you're having to call an audible, basically, on this drink. So the reason I'm thinking about this is that recently somebody came into the cafe. They had an apple allergy, and it was a pretty severe one from the way she described it. And so she wanted to know if there was any apple in the drink she ordered. And I went ahead and checked, and it was a pumpkin spice drink that we make called the Lantern. It has pumpkin puree and spices and things like that, but no apple. So I assured her, it's totally fine. Next, when I started to prep the drink, I realized there's things that come into contact with apple cider at this season on the espresso machine because we steam cider. And so I can't use the steam wand towel. I can't use the steam wand or the stirring utensil that was potentially used with cider. And so I needed to work around those things by making sure the steam wand was clean so I could steam her drink without threat of apple residue, and then stir her drink with something else, like a Demitas spoon. then at the end I could tell her 100% there is no apple in here, and that I did make an effort to make sure that things that touched this were not touching apple either. And I'll tell you that she was deeply, deeply appreciative, because living with that kind of an allergy is kind of terrifying, in her own words. This is something I could do because I am in control of that bar. I had the ability to do it. Now, at the time, it wasn't really that busy, and so it's not too much of a burden on me. But if her drink came through and it was just a madhouse in the cafe, it would have been harder to accommodate. But at the same time, the value of her patronage is worth far more than the little bit of extra effort that I have to go through in preparing the drink. Our way of operating the bar has to evolve over time, and it has to include accommodating special requests of people that make up our customer base. So I think the policy here is that we should always have a generous disposition towards people, always be on the giving side of the equation. If you have a philosophy of generosity, which is something that Danny Meyer preaches in his Setting the Table book, if you have this generous disposition, you're going to come out on top. You're going to win people over more often. Hospitality is not about just treating everybody the exact same way, no matter what they order. It's about treating people as individuals according to the knowledge you have of their individual taste. Now, the fact that you don't have a pre-existing relationship with a customer until they come through the door and they tell you what their preferences are means that you rely on that interaction to be able to discover what they love. It's an opportunity. It's not something to bemoan. It's not something to run away from. View it as an opportunity to say, they are telling me how to make their coffee. Sometimes people can be pretentious about it. I get it, okay? But if you take the high road, and I know it's hard, and I have not always done this, believe me, but as I get older and I see how, taking the high road on this has actually softened people's disposition, I will accommodate that because, gosh, you're telling me how to really win you over as a customer. You're being communicative with me specifically about your beverage. That should be seen as a positive thing. And we do worry a lot about being taken advantage of because there are people out there, and even magazine articles out there, how to get free stuff from a cafe. The whole iced espresso thing where they fill it with cream. It's a nightmare that we have. We wake up in cold sweats in bed like, people are going to order espresso over ice and the cream, and then we're going to go out of business. You're not going to go out of business. You're not. How much cream do people put in their coffee? And we never make a big deal about it. But once they want cream over espresso on ice, it's a huge deal. And what is it, like one person maybe, even per week, realistically, that does that, if they do it at all? Great. Okay, if they do that and they're trying to game the system, it's not going to destroy you. And you absolutely can make a policy about that in your cafe, where you serve iced espresso in small to-go cups, okay? You have the right to make rules about what can and cannot be ordered. Here's an example. You can say no heavy cream. This is something that we do in the cafe. We have heavy cream. We use it for making the house-made salted bourbon caramel sauce. We use that exclusively because the portion that we use is the same size as the carton. And once we start to use heavy cream for requests for heavy cream cappuccinos or lattes, which is something people order. It's like a ketogenic thing. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it is. But we have a policy where we don't do that, and there are good reasons for it. So when somebody says, can I have a heavy cream latte, or can I have that made with heavy cream, or do you have heavy cream? I can answer in sort of a politician way by saying, well, the heaviest we can go with the lattes is half and half. There, easy. That's it. I didn't lie. I didn't say anything about, yes, we have heavy cream, but not for you. and you're a disgusting latte, I didn't say anything like that. And it probably tastes it's a lot of fat and sugar. Why wouldn't it? It probably tastes great. It's like hot ice cream. The point, though, is there are things that you should create as policy that everybody knows that can be communicated in a graceful way to a customer. So you're not always saying, no, we don't do that, and stuff like you're saying instead, here's what we do. Would that be okay? So the way of thinking about this, I think, that is helpful is you have to have a generous disposition when it comes to accommodating requests. Think of it as an opportunity to tailor something to an individual's taste and win them over because you're concerned about their enjoyment of your coffee. It's an honor that they think your coffee is good enough to be a part of their ritual on a daily basis, hopefully. So start with a positive disposition, a generous one, and then treat people like they're innocent for their requests. Don't treat them like they're guilty right off the bat of trying to take advantage of you or just be difficult. There's that bitter root that baristas develop it comes from, working in the service industry. You come across all types of people that sometimes are not polite, etc. It creeps in where now you treat everybody as a potential threat. And, this person's a jerk or this person's high maintenance. Most of the time, people are not trying to be the way that you think they are being. They're just, maybe they had a hard day. Maybe they truly just want a less sweet caramel latte, right? Again, treat this as an opportunity to really serve them, and it will become a part of your muscle memory, and you'll know their drink. It's a beautiful thing. Now, when certain requests start to become more numerous, now you've got to start creating a policy about this. You've got to put these things in these accommodations into writing in your cafe. How do we handle less sweet? If so many people are saying, I want it less sweet, then what does less sweet mean? If you're weighing out your sauces like we do, what does it mean? How many pumps is less sweet? Generally, right? How many is extra? Right? How many pumps until you charge for a syrup? I just want half a pump. Well, do I charge the full amount if it's half a pump? That's an interesting question for your cafe. Maybe it's yes, maybe it's no. Maybe there's a half pump option on your register. So you've got to have a policy about these things. Next, you really do have to communicate these policies to every barista, because the worst thing that happens in cafes is a customer comes in and says, they made it for me last time. I don't why. So you're saying no, but they said yes. And sometimes even management between shops can disagree about something that you accommodated a customer for the last time. So you need to communicate that policy and then make it a part of your practice. What are you able to accommodate? What can't you accommodate? And how can you put that into a policy that you communicate to everyone so that when those things come through, you can be flexible and you can accommodate special requests in a way that makes people feel special. So when it comes to special requests in the cafe, let's guard against thinking of these things as huge burdens and look at ways that we can really pivot well so that we can accommodate special requests. A mark of professionalism and a mark of, true service and hospitality is how you can tailor things to people's tastes. And if a special request throws you into this mentality of being put out where now you're going to talk about the customer after they leave and, I can't believe it. They think they're, so special, et cetera, et cetera. What is that? How is that fruitful? How is that going to make you a better professional? How is that going to win over a customer? The high road here is do what you can. And if you have policies, you have policies, and live by those things. That's fine. But if you can do it, you should. And do it with a heart that is set on being generous to that person and excited about being able to win them over and their business over. So when we switch from being gatekeepers that seek to make our own jobs easier and seamless to being more generous in our disposition and looking at these things as opportunities to serve very well, then I think you're going to start to see those special requests in a different light. I think you're going to win over these customers and do what we can to accommodate their requests and truly make them feel special for being in our space. And I think that's a winning strategy. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you're able to take this and apply it to whatever situation you have in your cafe where you find yourself being a little bit on the defensive. See what taking the high road of generosity with these situations will yield to you. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break from Keys to the Shop.